Hello everyone listening. This is Jean Dodi and Aikeza. Call me Jado, Jado. I'm your host, and this is Change Me podcast. Welcome back to the stories of change. In this first episode of Change Me podcast, I explore a very sensitive topic and the history, the experience that I share with the other thousands of millions of people from around the world, but most specifically thousands of hundred thousands of people of my country, my home country, Burundi. So on the first episode, we saw what was it like and why did it happen that you have to cross the border and then you leave the country to look for asylum in another country. But in this second episode, of course, the big question is, what was it like for you leaving the country, or what did you think when you arrived to the asylum country? But to be honestly speaking, I would say, first of all, it was really hard for me to think of any other thing other than how am I going to find a place where I will be able to think and feel and sleep safely without always fearing that someone is coming and shoot me in the head or kill me. For sure I didn't have time to think for any other thing. What will it be like when I arrive to the asylum country? What will be the experience? What will be the life over there? What will be the culture, the language, the change, all the things happening at once? But my first priority was, how am I going to find a place where I feel safe? When I was leaving, I only thought, oh God, I need a place where I can at least be sure I will wake up safe, that no one is coming to kill me, shoot me in the head, or cut off my head. So my priority was for me to find a place where I can feel safe. Of course, with a lot of things which were happening at the moment in 2015, so I was thinking solely, how can I find a place to feel safe and stay? For me to leave the country, it was also very hard to find the means of transportation from Bujumbura to Kirundo, where I can be able to cross the border to Rwanda, the neighboring country. So during the period of demonstration in Bujumbura, it was a matter of life and death, leaving the city mostly when you were young, because they thought everyone is demonstrating, is in the strife, is in the strike in the city or around the city. But that was the case to some reasons, but it wasn't also the case to some other reasons, because they would by default accuse you of throwing stones on policemen. It was very challenging to find transportation from Bujumbura heading to the north of the country or anywhere in the neighboring provinces of Bujumbura. But I was relieved to see that I finally left the city, because when the strife started, I didn't see any way out, and until today it's not very easy for me to explain how I did leave the city, but I'm glad that I've been able to leave the city. But in a few moments I couldn't stay home, because in the rural area, the police, the Imbonerakure leaders and the intelligence was every day taking young people who were coming from the capital city Bujumbura, because in their mind we were striking in Bujumbura, but it went south. Then we are coming to start demonstration there as well. So they were like, okay, now you're leaving Bujumbura because you guys have failed, and now you're coming to start the demonstrations here as well in the rural areas. But that was not the case. I had to leave the country. I have to leave the country to Rwanda. To be honest, I didn't want to leave home because there are things I want to achieve, so I don't want to leave before I do. It was very, very hard for me to leave the country. But I was like, okay, if I don't leave, then the policemen or the people from the ruling party will run after me, control me in every move I do, and then they will take me to jail, thinking I'm coming from Bujumbura from the demonstrations. Now I'm fleeing the police or the intelligence who are looking for me. Now I'm just coming to hide in the north at home. But that was not the case. So I had to leave the country. So it was for me choosing, if I stay here, they will take me, and I don't know what's going to happen to me. Maybe they will kill me. That was the probability was close to 1. Or I have to leave and leave home behind and go to the place where I can feel safe. That's what happened. But the other thing is that the puzzle to solve was here. How am I going to cross the border? First of all, the border was very protected by the time. They didn't want anyone to leave the country, so they were everywhere. So I had to live in a very secret way, pretending that I'm a fisherman. So I had to cross the border in a sailing boat, a very wooden sailing boat. So two ways were possible. You cross the border through normal ways and cross legally, and the second was to cross the border with a sailing boat illegally. Of course, you could not cross the border legally because the policeman, the intelligence, the Zimbonerakure was over there. And I just have to explain this. Le Zimbonerakure were the young people of the ruling party who were protecting or working or acting as a policeman, working with the intelligence closely. So they would inform them all the time. So of course I couldn't cross the border through the normal channels. I had to cross illegally on a very tiny sailing boat with 3 other people. Someone was there removing water in the boat at the time until we get to the shores in Rwanda. Yes, it was scary, but I had no choice. It has to leave home, but I had to go. During that period of time, we were crossing the Chohoha Lake. It's a lake between Rwanda and Burundi in the northern province, Kirundo of Burundi, and also Bugesera region in Rwanda. So I had to cross the border through that small sailing boat secretly, pretending that I'm a fisherman. But I'm glad that I've been able to leave. When I arrived, I remember when I arrived, I was sitting there in Rwanda looking back home because it's close. It was like 1 hour or something crossing the water, the lake. But I could see home. I could see my home country when I was sitting on the side of Rwanda. And I think I sat there for almost an hour thinking, okay, now I'm safe. No one is coming to kill me, or no one is coming to take me and do whatever, torture me, whatever they want. So I felt safe by the time, and I sat there for quite some time thinking, oh yeah, I just left the country. What is it going to be like? How am I going to survive here? What about my education? I have not yet finished my secondary school. What's going to happen? For sure, there were millions of questions I couldn't answer. But then I said, well, let's what happened just happened, and I don't know. Let me wait and see. Bit of the history for someone who have no idea. Is that many people from Rwanda have lived in Burundi, and many people from Burundi have lived in Rwanda as well. So when I arrived there, I had no one. I didn't know anyone in the country. So what happened, I was like, okay, let me just go and I will say I'm a refugee. You know what's happening there in my home country. I just need a refuge. I need a place where I can feel safe. But lucky enough, someone who didn't know me, who didn't know us, I still remember his name. It's called Alberto. He's a very nice Rwandan guy. and he was a teacher by the time. So we were so young, and he had some kids as well, children of our age. So he received us, said, "Hey, come, you like my children. I will try and see." I also lived in Burundi. People there helped me in so many ways. Me and my wife and some of my children, people helped ours, people from Burundi. So you're welcome. We have seen and we've been watching what's happening there. We are very, very sorry. So when when I arrived, by the time I had so many thoughts, for sure. I had so many thoughts. A lot of positive thought telling me maybe 2 weeks maximum, don't worry. But things continued to go so bad that it's too late. We couldn't go back home again. So it went beyond 2 weeks. I was so naive, thinking, okay, it's gonna be 2 weeks, and then I go back home, go and continue and finish my high school. But that was not the case. So he received us, and then he tried to help me with the other young people we were together. And to some point, we were always thinking, oh, maybe it's going to end, maybe it's going to be like this. But he usually, or other people around us, will say, well, when things like this started, so it's never what we expected it to be. It's growing, keeps growing. So when I arrived, I stayed there for quite some time. And now I was like, well, how did it happen that Alberto received me and helped me for quite some time? And then I was thinking, like, maybe it's sometimes wherever you go, it seems like someone and something is waiting for you to arrive, so it starts moving. So I was very lucky to be received with the family, and then he tried to consult us, give us some advice. See, you are young, don't lose hope. Maybe things will change. But to a particular point in time, he was not able to help anymore or to continue helping us, because we expected it to be a very short period of time. But the situation grows and grew, and we couldn't see the stop or the end. And he, by that time, when things went really hard for him to continue helping us, the UNHCR and the government of Rwanda were establishing a refugee camp over there in Rwanda, which is Mahama refugee camp, the largest camp in Rwanda. So I will have time to talk about that. So the family that received us in Rwanda couldn't afford it anymore, and I had to go to the refugee camp, Mahama refugee camp, which is the largest camp ever existed in Rwanda among all the 6 refugee camps. More than 50,000 of Burundians were hosted there by the 9th of September 2016, and more than 10,000 of the people in Mahama camp were young people at that time. Imagine girls and boys living the same small area as Mahama refugee camp. Things happen, new behaviors, well-born disciplines of young people, non-accompanied young people, those young people without parents, and also I would say unaccompanied adults, not only children or young people, but also there were wives and husbands who were there without their husband, and husband without their wives. So it was very, very, very challenging situation in terms of behavior change. More young people are experimenting with sex and everything, smoking, drinking. Imagine a 13-year-old without a parent and no guardian over there. You can imagine what he or she can do, or what he or she thinks of doing. So by the time I was 19 and tempted so much to try new things and finally be free to do what I wanted, but I had something in my mind reminding me, what I wanted to achieve that was stopping me from leaving the country. The voice came back and told me, well, we've left the country, but we can try again to dream and see what happens. But for this to happen, you have to be healthy, mentally strong. Something pushed me to experiment a lot of things that would have led me south. But I didn't. I'm like that. I didn't try. I did not try to experiment with so many things that other young people are trying to experiment as well. I was, I would say I was very lucky. I was very lucky that I didn't try all those things. And to some extent, I was like, yeah, I also want to do all those things. But maybe that's a very also useful way to prevent you from doing something bad for you, which is at least I have some dreams, maybe small, not a big dreams, but at least I have some dreams. Try to dream. I know now for the people who haven't ever been refugees, who doesn't know the life in sub-Saharan African refugee camp, how is the life over there, in the camp. Most of the hosting countries are struggling with their people. How about the thousands of refugees living in a refugee camp as well? Of course, it's the worst. It's worse, I promise. I invite you to tune in for the next episode, where I will deeply dive into the life in the famous Mahama refugee camp in Rwanda, where more than 50,000 refugees are hosted on 175-hectare surface area of the camp, the largest camp in Rwanda. So I invite you to join the next episode, where we'll explore why did I actually live that kind of life? Why did I experience that? I did not choose that, but what happened? So it means to some extent the life have chosen me. But I don't know, we will explore that to the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome. I invite you to tune in next to the next episode.